everybody, and welcome to a very special wild ride with Stevo. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but gosh darn, does my signature look exactly like a wiener shooting stuff out. And I say that because every single copy of my book, which I sell at stevo.com, is personally autographed. And it's filled with crazy stories like you are about to hear right now from me and somebody who's been my hero since we were both 14 years old. So let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Way. Yeah, dude. Let me introduce to you my co-host, Scott Randolph.
What's up, brother?
And
What's up,
for
Scott?
you, coming from off camera, we have Paul Brisky.
Hello.
Yeah,
Paul,
dude.
how you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah, dude, this is a big deal right here, man. For anybody who doesn't know Danny Way, man, you've been my hero since I was a little kid, dude. And I mean, when I say little kid, we're both pretty much exactly the same age, right? What's your birthday?
April 15th, 74.
And I'm June 13th, 74. So you're less than 2 months older than me. And when I first found out about you, I would have been 14, watching this epic skateboarding video called Public Domain. And, dude, I mean, I saw it I went to high school in England, so we got everything later, you know, like, I'm guessing
Sure.
that you probably had filmed that, you know, considerably before. But it was just crazy to have this kid who is the same age as me and like just blasting onto the skateboard scene with Powell Peralta, which was the skateboard company that Tony Hawk rode for. Steve Caballero, the Bones Brigade, was like the only game in town. And then
It was a big deal, dude, when we were kids.
a really big deal. And living in England too, I went to the American school in London, and I think somebody like pulled a prank on me. They're like, dude, like one of the new students next year is going to be Danny Way.
No way.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Oh my God.
When I was younger, it's like, you know, I would travel to different contests, whatever, but I always connected with the kids my age. You know, I think they related to me the most. So like you said, like, you know, whatever. I had like a coalition of little kids that I bonded with everywhere that were kind of, you know, like fans of the fact that I was the same age and doing this, you know, and making it happen. It was pretty rad.
For sure, rad.
Yeah, it's cool. You were like a child star, but in this really rad way. Not like for being an actor or a singer, but for being a badass skateboarder.
And skateboarding was still pretty underground in that era. So
Right.
Yeah.
for
Skateboarding was
sure.
super underground in that era.
Who scouted you for that video? How do you get into a video like that for your first one?
Dude, it all happened so fast, but I was, you know, like I was skating for Vision Skateboards, Vision Streetwear, and I wasn't too stoked on the program. And they left me in Las Vegas at like 13 years old at a contest for real. Like I flew out there, they were supposed to drive me back, and then the contest ended and they disappeared. And like I'm sitting in Vegas with no money, no cell phones back then, and I'm literally stranded. And by the grace of God, this guy comes along. He's like, dude, I see you need help, and you know, I got your back. And I'm like, yeah, what's your name? And he's like, my name's Mike Ternansky. And this dude flew me home from Vegas that I just met. Didn't know at that time he was going to become this very important person in my life. But he got me home. So that point, you know, my mom was a little bit pissed off about it, whatever. Like, I didn't, you know, crazy to be that young and end up in a situation like that. But when I was growing up, I had, you know, I was kind of an independent little kid. My mom gave me that kind of freedom, trusting I, you know, would do the right thing or get home with, you know, get involved with the right people where I wouldn't be left in a place like, you know, that far away in Vegas. But anyways, I had the opportunity because 8th Street Skateboards was starting up right around this time. And I was hanging out at Tony Hawk's house quite a bit, skating his new skate compound that he had built out in Fallbrook. And I lived kind of right by Tony. So I just, you know, Bucky was hanging out there, Bucky Lasik. And I started to see this vision like, wow, like maybe I should leave Vision and ride for Powell. But then Mike Ternansky, you know, you know, he flew me home from Las Vegas free of charge, just looking out for me, you know, starts listening to me going, hey, we're starting this new project. And Matt Hensley was my friend I grew up with, and he skated for Vision Skateboards with me, and he left Vision, jumped on 8th Street, this new startup company.
Right. Yeah, let me jump in here. I know people hate it when I do this, but to put it into perspective, Powell Peralta was the company that Danny was amateur for, and Tony Hawk rode for them. Like all the biggest names, it was the biggest game in town. And then Danny Way, like 13 years old, like all of a sudden decides, I'm gonna leave Powell Peralta. I'm gonna quit. Like the whole world is looking at this like, are you fucking crazy, Danny? You're gonna quit Powell Peralta? He says, yep, I'm gonna quit Powell Peralta. I'm gonna go ride for this company that nobody's ever even heard of before. Hasn't even been launched probably. It's called H Street. They're like, H Street? Like what even is it? And why the fuck would you do that? And then sure enough, it ended up, it seemed like the most reckless move that like career-wise that Danny could have made. It ended up being like the smartest decision ever, because at that time, H Street just took over. It was this.
It was, yeah. I mean, there was like, I had the chance to get on H Street before I got on Powell, because Mike planted those seeds. And when we flew home from Vegas on that flight, he was like, hey, I'm launching this new project with Tony Magnuson. We got Brian Lottie, Mike Carroll, and he was like pitching it. And he was like, you know, we're talking to Matt Hensley. And I'm like, well, okay, those are my friends. I'd love to be on that program, but the Bones Brigade, dude, you can't, like, nobody's going to shake that vision. So I had that opportunity, and, you know, I jumped on Powell because the opportunity opened up for me, and I chose to ride for Powell over H Street. But about a year into it, you know, and believe me, dude, I was so blown away that I even ended up on the Bones Brigade. You know, that video part you're talking about, the public domain video part, like Stacy Peralta showed up and filmed me that day with his own camera, you know.
On
he's
film
the guy that
too,
produced,
huh?
On real film. Like he pulled up and filmed Bucky and I that day. And it was like,
Wow.
I remember after the session, I'm like, you know, I didn't even know if I was on Powell yet. Like I went up there kind of like in this transitional period with nobody yet telling me you're on the team or not. So I shoot the video, you know, we skate all day. And then I asked Stacy Peralta afterwards, I'm like, so am I getting on the team? He's like, what do you mean? You're already on, dude. And I'm like, whoa, I've been stressing this whole time. Like, did I skate well enough? Did I pull this off? So it was the biggest dream come true. But after, you know, a year of it, like if you look at the pecking order of people that were in line to, you know, and I understand like they have some, you know, some celebrity pros on the team and a lot of good young kids in the lineup to be able to, you know, start moving up. So like it just wasn't happening, I guess, fast enough where I knew I could, you know, I knew where I was at with my skateboarding, and I knew I could take it to another level if somebody got behind me and pushed it further. And so, you know, after a little while, I wasn't getting the things I needed to go to the next level. And Mike came, you know, like there was a contest in Houston, Texas.
That was your first pro contest?
It was my last amateur contest,
okay,
but it's a shut up and skate. Houston shut up and skate contest. In skate culture, that was like back in the day, that was like, you know, it was like the underground grassroots backyard, but, you know, it was a skate park, but backyard, you know, ramp style contest mentality, you know, just chaos, punk rock, partying, the whole deal. But the you know, it was also the one you wanted to win because it had the most street cred. So as an amateur, showing up at that contest was everything to me. And I knew that was a contest I needed to win to really put myself on the map to turn pro.
Right. And then in the first H Street video, Shackle Me Not, they showed you winning that contest.
Yeah. And that was the day I started riding an H Street board, because the story goes, I got so desperate to go to that contest in the Bones Brigade. Powell was like, we're going to send you. And the last second they go, no, we're boycotting the contest. And I'm like, boycotting? What the fuck does that mean? You're boycotting it? What are you boycotting? I want to get to this Texas contest. I got to win it. You know, I got to try and win this thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry, we're not going. And I'm just like, dude, Hensley, everybody's getting ready to get on their flight. Ortega, all my friends I grew up to ride for H Street now, my hometown friends. So I'm like feeling left out of my skate bubble. Like these are the friends I skate with every day. Now they're on a program. They're doing everything I want to be doing. So I started to get like pretty jealous, and, you know, it started eating me up. So I called Mike up and I'm like, hey, you know, I know you flew me home from the one event. You didn't ask for anything in return. I appreciate that. But dude, I need help getting to this Houston contest. Like whatever, dude, front me, like lend me. I'm like so desperate, dude. Can you help me get to Texas? And he's like, yeah, we can make it happen, but
Epic.
Only if you ride for us, dude.
This was featured in the very first H Street video, which was called Shackle Me Not. Okay, when I saw Shackle Me Not, like my head exploded. Okay, and this was right at the time when I got my first video camera, which I stole from my dad's closet, and I made my very first skateboarding video, which was called I Hate Rain. But what's important about this is that I Hate Rain was the first video made by Team H Road.
What a fucking. That's funny.
My buddies and I called ourselves Team H Road because H Street was that fucking cool. Like, we didn't even care. Like, we made T-shirts that said,
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, we made H Road T-shirts. And dude, I was 14 years old riding a Danny Way skateboard, like his pro model. Like, I
Did it
had
say H Street on the skateboard?
Yeah,
You
yeah, for
crossed
sure.
it out and wrote road.
No, dude, that would have been disrespectful.
Oh, yeah.
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 And so that's like how far back Danny and I go. I was riding Danny's board in 1990, right? I graduated high school in 92, went to the University of Miami. I was all flailing around, but I decided I wanted to be this rad, like, stunt guy. And my best plan was to try to be in skateboarding videos. So I go to the skateboard convention, and I'm going around all the booths, like, ejecting their tape, putting in my tape. And that was, like, everybody was just so pissed off until I got to the XYZ booth. And that's the company that Danny Way started with our buddy Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And I plug in my videotape on their booth, and Tommy's like stoked about it. He's like, dude, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, dude. We start shotgunning beers. Next thing you know, I'm sponsored by XYZ.
Wait, how old were you when that happened?
At that time, that was the first week of 1997. So I was 22.
Okay, so that's like 7 years after that tournament, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, there's some more skate videos that came out and some more chaos and stuff, but
Well,
But,
because
like-
let's get into that, because you left H Street then, right? Like, H Street kind of like fell apart, and you
Well-
started Plan B with Mike Ternasky.
I mean, H Street was like a prototype project, you know, like the guys, you know, Tony Mag and Mike Ternasky came together, they started it, and it was like, I don't think anyone anticipated what was going to happen. You know, like I know that those guys were pretty genius in how they pulled what they pulled together, but I don't think they realized like how big Hensley was going to be. And I don't think they, you know, I think they sensed that I was going to go somewhere, but I think the synergy of having us at once and us being new young blood and having this new brand when Pal Peralta and Stacy Peralta and the Bones Brigade dominated skateboarding throughout the 80s in a certain way.
And
They
H
had a
Street
certain
took
look.
all that away. H Street took that all away from Powell, and H Street was the only game in town at that point. But then I think what I hear you saying is that now H Street, they didn't know how big they were going to get. They didn't know like how big the skaters were going to get, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, if the skaters are going to see more opportunity somewhere else, it's going to get pretty hard to keep them unless you really, you know, respect how big they are.
Yeah, and or just, you know, listen to the guys that are moving the needle for the project and like tailor it so that everyone's happy. You know, I think H Street got to a point where there was a lot of like difference of opinion on how it should be or what it should look like or how it should feel or whatever. So at a certain point, instead of like trying to spend so much time correcting certain things, we were just like, you know what, let's just do a Plan B and like start a new project and like just start it right, like do everything, you know, all the things that we learned from H Street, let's just do it right this, you know, from the jump and not make those same mistakes and keep it tight, you know, and keep this feeling in the brand that, you know, I mean, that was what created H Street, was the synergy of the talent and the personalities and how everyone kind of complimented each other and got along. But, you know, in the Bones Brigade, you know, Stacy was actually a master of this, dude. This is where Stacy Peralta kind of invented this formula, and then Mike Ternasky took it to another level. And then Plan B essentially was, you know, our refined version of H Street.
is there like beef between the different like companies? Like
Absolutely. Before we get into the intense beef between skateboard companies, let me make the point that I've been getting pretty rad lately. Yeah. And I might have needed some surgery. But the good news is bed rest is better than ever in my Helix mattress. I'm telling you. If you guys haven't done this yet, go to helixsleep.com/Stevo. Take a 2-minute long quiz, right? where they're going to match you with the perfect customized mattress for you to get the best sleep of your life. If you're in a situation like I am, needing to heal up a little bit, you want to have the perfect bed, and that is from helixsleep.com/Stevo. Go ahead and order from that right now, and you're going to get up to $200 off any mattress you choose. Plus, they will throw in 2 free pillows. And these Helix pillows are the most comfortable things ever. So, again, go to helixsleep.com. That's HELIX sleep.com/Stevo. Get the best sleep of your life. Yeah, dude. Now, let's talk beef.
It's like gangs meeting up, fucking gangs in New York shit at a competition.
People ever fight at competitions and stuff?
Danny could. I think Danny could
Not me.
confirm or deny this, but I think it's safe to say that clearly Pal Peralta was just the biggest and the only biggest, and they were successful because Stacy Peralta was a skater. The company Vision that he talked about before was run by a guy who never even skated. You know, like that was the problem, is that skate companies were being run by people who weren't skaters. You know, Powell was good because Stacy Peralta knew what was going on. 8th Street was like a skateboarding operation, and Plan B. But by this point, I think enough skaters got big enough that you saw like really like, you know, genuine like rad companies run by skaters, and there were kind of a bunch of them, you know, popping up. So there wasn't going to be any more one company dominated everything anymore. You know, like, is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, in the 80s, there was a coalition. They called it the Big Five, which was Thrasher, Transworld, Pal Peralta, Vision, and NHS, Santa Cruz. And those guys had like, it was like the UN, and they would come together and go, okay, well, how do we cock block all these young new startup companies and monetize the retail level or the, you know, the distribution model, and, you know, and globally dominate skateboarding? Us as the group, we'll dominate as a team, you know? So there was, those guys kind of butted heads here and there, but, you know, you know, we can't forget about our good buddy, Steve Rocco.
I was going to say, then came Rocco.
So I was going to bring in Rocco. So Rocco was also moving the needle at the same time as H Street. But Rocco came in with a more rebellious mentality, you know?
Right.
He was more like, you know, he didn't mind anyone trying to ruffle his feathers, because it just gave him good reason to do some funny stuff back. And in return, he won because it just drawed more attention to World Industries and the Santa Monica Airlines, or, you know, all the brands that he created.
Can you explain who Rocco is?
Yeah, we talked about this with Ryan Sheckler on this show, about how skateboarding, all the money that came into the skateboard industry was sort of contingent on mom approving the purchase of the product. So the skateboard videos up to that point were kind of catered to mom's approval. Like they didn't show like brutal slams. Everything was just kind of like made to be cute and like okay for mom. And then 8th Street came along and they were like, no, we're all about the skateboarding. But then Rocco came along and he was like, you know what? Skateboarding is like fucking criminal. Like we're out here breaking, like we've got this attitude and fuck it, you know? So Rocco wasn't trying to kiss mom's ass anymore, period. He's like, I'm gonna actually bum out mom. You know, we're gonna express skateboarding as what it is. We're gonna take pride in like how fucked up it is, how brutal the slams are. We're gonna have little kids like fucking vomiting all over the place.
I mean, his mentality was the more he could make the parents hate what he was doing, the more the kids would want it. So,
Yeah.
It's genius.
And you know, and he is a genius. Steve Rocco is one of the smartest, most clever, you know, just brand visionaries, marketing guys. So he's done some amazing stuff over the year. I mean,
and he's
the catalyst behind Jackass. I mean,
really?
I was gonna tie it together, but you know, the guy that was moving the needle with Mike Ternansky and Steve Rocco came in and he started Plan B with us. We started Plan B. So Mike, Rocco, and I were kind of driving this, you know, this initiative to create, because, you know, I left 8th Street to skate for Blind. I jumped on Blind, which was Steve Rocco's company with Mark Gonzalez and Jason Lee. Yeah, you know, Jason the act, you know, people that don't.
And
know
they called it
skateboarding
blind because they were saying fuck vision. It's the opposite of vision skateboards. So they said we're gonna call it blind.
That's great.
And it was so there was beef.
Totally. And Steve Rocco was like head of marketing and team and all that stuff at Vision. And he left Vision to start Santa Monica Airlines and was like, hey, Mark Gonzalez, like when you're ready, cruise over. Like I got, and as Steve started to succeed, I think Gonzalez was like, well, I might have, I'm going to go hang out with Rocco because he's got this thing going on.
Right.
So eventually Gons bounced, Vision and joined up and started Blind with Rocco and Jason Lee.
Right.
And I eventually ended up on Blind because that was a contrived move because Mike Chernansky was like, hey, Danny's going to quit H Street because he's not stoked on what we're doing. And Mike kept saying, I'm butting heads with Tony on some things. I don't know the whole story behind it, but supposedly they weren't seeing eye to eye. So Mike was like, let's just meet with Rocco and like, let's figure out how we can do something with him. But Mike realized it was going to take a little while to make all this happen. So he's like, I don't want to lose you. So go ride for Rocco for a little bit. We'll figure this out. And then we'll just make it happen when the time's right. But at least you'll still be in the mix,
Right.
So I jumped on Blind for a while, and then eventually we got the whole Plan B thing going. And Rocco was a big part of Plan B.
Yeah, going back to Scott's question, are there beef between?
Yeah, because I see him at competitions. Like when you're a street and everybody's just kind of standing there while the one guy skates. But like behind the scenes, are you guys like, now fuck you?
Well, yeah, I think the answer to your question about is there beef between skateboard companies? Yes, and not only that, but there's like secret, like top big stars defecting from their companies to go start other companies, and then like nobody knows about it until it actually happens, and there's all this backstabbing and betrayal and like.
What do you mean? Like they start a company while they're still with another company,
Right,
and then
they
as soon as they get their company started, they're like, fuck it.
It's like getting another girlfriend before you break up with the girlfriend you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the first Plan B ad was 5 of these riders are going to be leaving their current sponsors to start a new company. And we had the list of all the top pros on this ad. So it was like all the companies were going like, oh shit, who's going to be leaving? Like they didn't know. I mean, but if you look at our ad, it's like everybody, Hawk. I mean, you name it. Like, all the top guys in that time were on this list that were going to be potentially leaving their current sponsor to start Plan B. So for like, until the next ad dropped, which is like the next month where we had the team list, the team riders actually, on that ad for about a month, people were tripping like, whoa, what's happening here? Who's going to be leaving who, like.
That's so great.
I mean, what about like fights and stuff? Were there any other physical stuff going down behind the scenes, or was it like at parties when you ran into each other? Look at this guy's face. He's smiling about something.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking skateboarders, like in skateboard culture is pretty fucking cool, man. To be honest, like, despite how much, like, hey, I want to fucking win this contest or I want to do better, I think, there's been a couple, I think people that have beefed, but not like you would think. I think for the most part, for how rebellious skateboarding has been over the years and, it being kind of an outcast, industry or whatever, or society, I think for the most part, a lot of respect in, amongst each other, to be honest, so I haven't seen too much to be on that level. It's more been like politics within business culture.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that doesn't equal this. It's just more of like, fuck, dude, that guy just one up me with that strategy. Okay, how do we fire back? Cleverness and effectiveness.
It's like anything else. There's more fist fights over pussy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, dude, you humped my girl. Fucking bop.
Okay, got it. It's not like a fucking tribalism, like, I'm part of this crew, like, you're fuck you.
I mean, there is some of that, but it's like, it's business, you know? It's business, and yeah, that's crazy, man. I'd never heard about the ad where it's like, epic. There's this new company, Plan B, and we're going to take, 5 of these...
5 of these top pros are going to be leaving their current sponsors to start a new brand.
Wow.
Whose idea was that?
That sounds
Mike
like a
Chernansky.
Rocco idea to me, about Chernansky.
I think maybe Mike and Rocco can try that, but I'll send it to you when we're done with this thing so you can see it. It's fun.
I'm so okay. Now on the topic of ads, there's one that I fucking can like never. There's actually 2 ads I can never forget in skateboarding that just blew my mind. One was, it said the house that Rodney built, and it listed every trick that Rodney Mullen was responsible for inventing, and the font size was so small to fit all those words on one page because he just invented. It was mind-boggling. But then the other ad was for Danny Way. And I think what it'd say, like, Danny Way, part man, part machine, and it listed, like, all the surgeries that you'd had.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, Danny Way's been just the most operated on athlete, like, ever. So we got to ask, like, can you run us through your surgeries? Before we hear about how unbelievably a lot of surgery Danny's had, let me tell you that recovering from surgery does not mean you should not be styling. Hell no. And if you think that with just one arm that works, that I'm not going to use my Fix Your Lid products, you're out of your mind. I'm going to get my girl to do it. She's all dolled up, Lux, honey. Come on, let me tell you about this while you look at my hot chunk of puss. Yeah.
Your hot chunk.
That's right. Now, this is a fully American company, 100% made in America, 100% cruelty-free products. That means that they don't do any testing on animals, nothing like that. My girl's never even checked out these products, and look how easily she's making them work. How are you going to get them? Because you need them, right? Yeah, you do. You go to the website, which is shopfixyourlid.com. Use the promo code Stevo, and that gets you 10% off at checkout. Plus, doing that right now automatically enters you to win a super cool cooler filled with Fix Your Lid products, which was personally signed by me. Yeah, I signed a bunch of them, and you could have one. So, again, go to shopfixyourlid.com, use the promo code Stevo, and get ready to be absolutely styling, just like me. Yeah, dude. All right, now let's talk surgery.
I have a little bit of a catalog of surgeries I've acquired.
That was the ad, right?
Yeah, you guys have the same surgeon.
When I needed like 11 screws in my ankle, Danny brought me to his doctor.
Yeah,
and my shit works great.
Dude, I got you on the surgery list like a week later, and like normally most people have to wait like a few weeks or a month to get their appointment. It takes a while, you know. But like
that's right.
You can call.
He's a frequent flyer.
Danny's had like cadaver ligaments like sewn in, and then they failed. So then he went back and got like synthetic. He's like.
And you guys have both done the anesthesia challenge. Like that's how you know you're fucking done a lot of surgeries.
I want a rematch, dude. I want a rematch on the anesthesia challenge. Yeah. I got smoked. Damn.
But yeah, walk us through the surgeries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, they started. I think I had my first surgery at like 15. And I shattered my elbow, and it still doesn't straighten all the way. That's as far as I can bend it that way, and then that way it only goes. So that was like the first, like, oh shit, I hurt myself, and I don't know if it's ever going to be the same again. And that was kind of like humbling for me for a minute. I'm like, well, I can actually damage my body beyond the point of repair. Mm-hmm. Oh shit, what have I got myself into? So, you know, I had like a pretty good run without, you know, I had a pretty bad back injury or spinal injury when I was 18. That
you surfed into a rock and got fucking paralyzed for 6 months. Is that right?
I had not 100% paralysis, but paralysis I had for over a year. Like I had a hard time moving my arms and moving my limbs, you know.
Right.
I couldn't stand up for very long. I'd get fucking vertigo and dizzy and nauseous.
I remember your brother, dude, fucking Danny had his own video, came out in the skateboard industry in like 1999, maybe 1998, and it was called Danny Way Living Legend, right? I had it. In that video, his brother Damon it described this injury that Danny had surfing, where he like went under and like hit like his head into a rock, and his brother described it as his vertebrae in his neck were like compressed, right? It was a vertebrae injury, which literally left him paralyzed, you know. And so like what are the doctors didn't know what to do, and so Danny goes to like fucking just disappears from the world, off the face of the earth, goes to Hawaii to some like crazy like witch doctor dude, and like nobody hears from, you know, and nobody hears from him. They're thinking, oh my God, Danny, like for him to not have use of his body is the saddest, most tragic fucking thing, and nobody was hearing from him. Then he shows back up like after like 6 months, a year or something, right? Goes to the biggest fucking contest in pro skateboarding, which is the Tampa Pro, and he shows up and wins fucking first place in vert and second place in street.
Wow.
And that's what's so rad about Danny throughout is that he's a full-on double threat. Like any other pro skateboarder is pretty much a half-pipe skater or a street skater, but Danny's both.
What the fuck happened at the shaman in Hawaii?
You know, he was more of I wouldn't, it's not like some witch doctor per se. He's definitely a different kind of holistic doctor.
More of a warlock.
But at that point I was so desperate because I wasn't getting any help from the Western doctors. I saw some of the best surgeons and orthopedic surgeons and neurosurgeons or whatever in the country that weren't giving me any positive hope. So I was like, I can't just sit here and not do anything. And I wasn't getting any better. So it took about 1 year and 3 months. But there's a chain of events that happened that led me to the guy that actually led me out of the woods on this. But it took me going to Hawaii, staying with this guy for a couple months and doing, he's like a kinesiologist, chiropractor, nutritionist, like mental, like a mentor, he got me back because I was pretty depressed. I was like at a point of like, fuck this. If it doesn't change, dude, what's the point of being alive kind of mentality. And, that's shallow, but at that age, it was a lot weighing in on me with this. But
how old were you?
So I went to Hawaii.
He said 18.
18. And
wow.
So I went to Hawaii, worked with this guy, got my head back in the right space where I was like motivated to like keep fighting this. And then he was like, well, you got to go home sometime. And, I can't, take care of you forever. So we've decided I was going to come back to San Diego. And he was like, I got somebody I know there that you should meet and do some follow-up with. It's somebody I used to work with. So he introduced me to one of his friends in San Diego, and I went to him right when I got back from Hawaii. And this guy's like, whoa, you're a pretty fragile case. I don't know if I want to do anything. Like, I don't want to take the responsibility with this. This is pretty serious stuff, So I was like, oh my God, here we go again. I'm back to square one.
Oh, I remember what Damon said. He said Danny dislocated his brain stem from his spinal cord.
You can't do that or you would die. What I did is I dislocated. What I did is I separated, or I tore the ligaments that hold your atlas vertebrae to your occiput, to the base of your skull. So where your head sits on is like a cradle. Your atlas vertebrae holds, it's a cradle for your skull. That vertebrae was like slid over and sitting on my spinal cord because I tore the ligaments that hold it in place. So it just was sitting there, and no doctor, because there was no broken bones, could tell me. Chiropractor could see it was out. It was out of place, like 12 degrees or something. But but the Western doctors were like, "There's no broken bones. It'll just heal." And I'm like, "There's no healing going on here." And it's like a broken wrist. If you broke your wrist and you didn't put it in a cast and it was displaced, it's going to heal displaced.
Yeah.
So I tore all this soft tissue with that vertebrae sitting on my spinal cord. It healed like that. So I wasn't going to get any better. These fucking Western guys are like, dude, it'll heal over time. Just give it a time and blah, blah, blah. Dude, 1 year and 3 months in, I'm like, dude, I'm fucking ready to lose my mind here. Like, for real. Went to Hawaii. Dude led me back to his boy here. And then he goes, I don't want to touch you, but I know a guy. I don't know him very well, but I've heard about him. His name's Paul Check. This guy's going to say, he's going to help you, I think. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Another guy. So I go to this Paul Check guy, desperate again. And Paul, I walk in and he's like, I know, I can see right now what's going on and I understand it. And he broke down exactly what I just said to you about the vertebrae sitting on my spinal cord. He can unwind it. It's going to take some work. Follow his lead. We'll be good. Dude, it went from literally suicidal. I dropped I was like 140 pounds at this point. I normally weigh 185, so it's like 40 pounds of muscle because I literally couldn't move from my waist up for over a year. Like I lost all of my muscle up top. Anyways. So it was like, I had to rebuild myself. But Paul's like, just trust me. And I'm at this point, I'm just like, dude, how can I trust anyone at this point? But he was, just his energy or whatever. I was like, fuck, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to follow this guy's lead. And dude, he led me out of the trenches on this thing, I still my whole life had to deal with the repercussions of that. Like I'm not completely ever healed from that. Like there's residual and I just consistently work at it to keep going. But he got me back to a point in 3 months after I met him where I went to Tampa and won the contest and got second in the street one. But that was from completely bedridden to 3 months later.
Wow.
So pretty, if I didn't go to Hawaii, I wouldn't have found it's just the chain of events that led me to these people. I don't know because Paul Check, my whole career now from that point on, he's my guy.
What sort of stuff did he have you doing for those 3 months?
He went in there and manually mobilized all those vertebrae that were frozen and all healed all out of place and all the soft tissue. You had to break all that tissue up. And I was working with his chiropractor buddy that does just Atlas alignments only. He's an Atlas specialist. So I would bounce back from Paul's physical therapy office to this guy, Kenny Shepard, this Atlas guru, where he would set my Atlas in place. And then, Paul would go and break up all the soft tissue. I'd get it set in place. But by the end of the day, it would slide back out. So I'd go back and get it set again. And that for like a couple months, every day, back and forth from one office to the other. Eventually, my vertebrae started to hold in the right place again.
Did you have health insurance covering all this shit, or was it just like crazy bills?
Dude, this is in the era where skateboarders weren't making much money. We didn't have managers and a lot, I didn't have my parents driving my career and managing me. Like, I was pretty much on my own at 16, Right. So health insurance, like, I wish I had it, but I didn't have it. So like when this shit went down, it was like every bit of money I had went into me chasing this. And so I got it, extremely broke in this time period too. And didn't know what to do. I was paying cash for everything. Harsh reality.
Health insurance when you're 18 is like, just drink more beer. Fuck it.
Hey, dude, this was the one time in my life, like, where I was literally shell shocked so much that, like, they were handing me like drugs, dude, whatever, they were giving me painkillers. I didn't take, when this happened, I was so scared because of the neurological problems I had that I didn't touch not one painkiller, not one Tylenol, not one Advil. Dude, I was so religious about what I put in my body after that because I was so scared. It was like, I couldn't even enjoy being, it didn't matter if I took something at that point. I was so, intimidated by all the neurological problems that it didn't even matter if I was numbed on a painkiller. Psychologically, I was in hell. So like, it's just like, I just didn't even go down that path at all. It was a long road of real reflection, being that like down and out and being crystal clear about it. It's the best way I couldn't have dealt with it in a better way. Cause if I was numbing myself, I might've took myself out. Who knows?
So you're 18 years old when you have the accident and you're semi-paralyzed. Like, how old are you when you win that Tampa contest, when you just reappear in the world?
20 years old, maybe.
So 2 years out.
It's like a year and a half later. I don't know. I think I was like 18 and a half when that neck thing happened. I think I was around 20. And it wasn't long. It was literally like a year and a half after that injury. The neck injury was the precursor to getting to the surgeries. Although that was a major injury, it didn't need any surgical repair. It was a different kind of therapeutic or rehabilitation strategy that got me out of that one. But I didn't start having surgery till I was like consistently till I was about 30 years old.
Oh, okay.
Consistently.
Like I got through my 20s. I got through my 20s pretty unscathed. I was pretty, other than, because I was trained, this is, also the realization, the wake up call I had when I went through that neck injury was like, I have to earn this now because I had a lot of weakness in my neck and like some irreversible damage still in there, even though I'm functioning. Now, if I don't take care of this, like I'm so vulnerable now. I got to be in best shape I can to deal with, the repercussions of, the mistakes I make riding my skateboard or anything else that I'm doing. So, I started to work really hard through my 20s, to be on a different level, which was not cool in skateboarding yet. I had to like kind of be underground about my training mission. Like, I didn't want people to know like, oh, this guy's like works out. Like he's not a skateboarder because skateboarders don't work out. Like, right. I was like, dude, I just want to skate or whatever it takes. I'm doing it. So, anyways.
Now, Danny wants to list surgeries, and I think that's crucial. Yeah. But I just wanted to throw in there that you got the surfing, the skateboarding, and then you've also got, you're a professional snowboarder, right? And motocross.
What?
The big five? I wasn't like racing like top pro motocross stuff, or even, I was into moto. I was getting good at it, and I decided at a certain point, like, is this worth? It was after the neck injury when I started to really weigh out, like, what should I be doing and what shouldn't. Now I know I can get hurt. I didn't realize I was that, like, before the neck injury, I was like, dude, getting hurt's like whatever,
Right.
I didn't know that you can get that hurt,
And he beat Dave Mira in a downhill bicycle competition.
Really?
To win like $100,000 in the, you know, it's borderline creepy how much I know about Danny. But yeah. So what was on that ad? When the ad that listed all of your surgeries?
I mean, I can't even. I'll do my best. I mean, I've had probably 8 different surgeries on my left knee. You know, there's been 4 ACL reconstructions and a bunch of just minor meniscus or cartilage cleanups and stuff like that. I've had probably roughly around 5 surgeries on my ankle from when I broke it jumping the Great Wall of China. That's cost me a pretty good, you know, that one's just, the deterioration on that one's just going downhill from at this point. But
shoulder,
the elbow, I've had several on. I've had several surgeries on the same joints because I've just keep damaging them. But I've had both my shoulders reconstructed, my knees, ankle, elbow, wrist. I mean, pretty much almost every joint in my body's had surgery.
It's unbelievable.
Well, where do you want to go to next? Because I have questions.
Right. Okay. Well, here we go. So we've got you know, you turned pro when you were 14. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Turned pro when you were 14.
Street course.
Paralyzed when he was 18. You know, on top of the world again when he was 20. Now, 23 is when I was 20. Shit, I was 22 years old when I got sponsored by Danny's company, XYZ Clothing. And they were sponsoring me for drinking bong water and lighting myself on fire. That was, and I was on the team list, which is so fucking crazy. And they flew me out to San Diego to shoot an ad for XYZ before I even went to clown college. And little did I know that when I'm out there, Danny's pulling together. He's going to set the world record for the highest air ever done, and he did. And he built the first skateboarding mega ramp.
Yeah, how did that happen?
I mean, it was Mike Chernasky's idea, right? It was you and Mike said, "Well, dude, I know a way to do the highest air," because they had always, as soon as they had half pipes and people started going into the air above the ramp, they were measuring it immediately, and through all of the 1980s, it was just a battle for inches and millimeters. You know, the highest air was sitting somewhere around 8 feet, you know, and then it went to 9 feet, but they were always, but it would only ever incrementally go up the tiniest little amount, hovering around 9 feet, if I'm right. And then Danny just comes and Danny builds this fucking gigantic ramp with a huge roll in and just blows it out of the fucking water. Takes the highest air ever done from 9 feet all the way up to 16 feet. And just to rub it in, he did a fucking kickflip air where you flip the board. He did that 12 and a half feet above the ramp. And I'm speaking for Danny here, but what drove him nuts, what drove Danny nuts about all of this was that the 16-foot air didn't get as much attention, not even the 12-and-a-half-foot kickflip indie. But what got all the attention was that they were filming from a helicopter, and Danny looks at the helicopter. He's like, "Oh, let me jump out of the helicopter into the ramp." And that was what got the fucking cover of the magazine, not the big air, but Danny jumping out of a helicopter. And the whole world's like, "Oh my God, the guy fucking jumped out of a helicopter and landed in a ramp." And Danny's like, but the air.
Yeah, that was extra.
Dude, I wasn't even I was the heli thing was cool, whatever, you know, but I was so much more proud about breaking the world record. But everyone's like, "Dude, that was cool, but the helicopter shit's on a whole nother level, dude." And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't get it.
And then, and then speaking of fucked up injuries, Danny, they set up some MTV event, right? So Danny's gonna jump out of the helicopter for this for MTV. But
it's a music festival.
Yeah, and so while he's trying it, he fucking jumps out, but he doesn't get it, and he completely dislocates his shoulder. Fucking shoulders out, and Danny says,
Ugh.
Yeah,
I got a gnarly scar from that one. That was a gnarly surgery.
So the shoulder's out, and what did you pop it back in? And he says, "Dude, I got to get back up in that fucking helicopter and jump out real quick before this fucking gets tight and sore." So he goes up and he jumps out of the helicopter with the dislocated shoulder and fucking makes it.
Wow.
You want to
Yeah,
explain
that
that?
in these situations, it's like you've already I've already blew out my shoulder. What am I going to sit there and be like, oh, this sucks watching, or what if I could have tried it? What if I made it? I knew it wasn't that complicated. I just need to get up there and do it again and get it over with. And it's a lot easier going into a surgery or whatever, knowing you at least got the goal that you accomplished like under your belt. You know, like
That's cool.
I could justify the next Monday morning going in the surgery room like, well, thank God I got the helicopter thing done, but rolling in there with a blown shoulder with no clip, I'm doing it. Like,
Oh,
that would've
sure.
been-
Okay.
Yeah.
So now here's another example. When the fucking when at the X Games, right? And this would have been the X Games in 2008. Danny goes on this. Now it's like the real mega. Danny goes up and fucking as he comes back down, he clips his
It topples
feet.
front over.
Yeah, he clips his feet on the edge of the ramp and just takes the most fucking brutal slam ever.
And you were knocked unconscious on that one, right?
No, I had the wind knocked out of me, but I didn't go unconscious on that.
It was-
but
it
I
was-
was rattled.
It was
I wanted to be unconscious, but
I would have, yeah.
up to that point, it was the most brutal slam that we had ever seen at the X Games. And Danny goes back up, and they're like, you gotta go to the hospital. He says, fuck that, I'm going back up and doing it again. He goes back up and makes the run. Did you get gold?
I got second place, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Dude,
much respect to Bob Burnquist, of course, for taking that. But like, if there's one event where I'm like, dude, I don't know about that one.
I mean,
Did you break anything during that?
I broke my foot.
Did they try to give you a wheelchair?
They tried to carry me off the ramp, which I would, you know, like I was just.
So with the broken foot, you're like, I'm fucking going again.
Yeah. And okay, here's another one. Okay. Danny goes to, like, and this is the biggest deal ever. Like, Danny jumped over the Great Wall of China, right? Like, no, like the relations between America and China have never been really that great. You know, it was a big deal to get permission from China to go over there and jump a skateboard over the wall.
What year?
2005, yeah?
Yeah, I think it was 5. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes over there on the fucking practice run. You broke your ankle or your foot?
That was my ankle.
Yeah, so he broke his fucking ankle, like doing a practice run.
The day before.
Day before or day of?
Day before, like I wasn't supposed to take any practice run, but I could smell like I'm like, dude, they didn't translate the
Right.
dimensions correctly from metric to, or from standard to metric, language barrier. Some things came out wrong on the ramp, and I was like visually like, whoa, I can already tell like some shit's not going to feel exactly how it normally does. So I was adamant about taking a test run before, you know, the day before. The government was like, you better not, like it's forbidden because somebody's going to get a photo or a video. And I was like, I'm going to fucking die if this in front of everybody. I'm fucking figured it out right now.
Right.
So I took the test run right before dark. And just like I thought, there wasn't enough roll in.
Right.
I came up short and landed on the deck, which was another flaw because most of the decks on these landing ramps, I always build them half the angle from like 45 to vertical.
So
like I find like right the sweet spot.
Yeah.
They put a flat deck with a sharp edge on it. Normally I build like a roller over the edge. So if I did come up short, I could at least like get a little forgiveness going in. But dude, it was like a square edge like this. And I was like a foot short, dude, a foot. Like I could see the edge and I'm like, do I go head first and try and swan dive this thing? Or do I take it? And I was like, dude, if I come up short this way, I'm going to die. Oh. And this is all happening in real time, like milliseconds of thoughts. Like, okay, which way do I roll with this? And so instinctually, I put my feet out first and I landed on that edge of that deck and cartwheeled down the thing and fractured my ankle the night before.
Right.
At what point?
So the next day with the fucking broken ankle, he comes back and jumps over the fucking Great Wall of China, like, and then that wasn't even good enough. He goes back up and does a backside 360 air over the Great Wall of China.
I did 5 360s in a row. If I didn't break my ankle, I would have sessioned that. I was like, my goal was like to get like film a segment, like get a bunch of tricks on video over the Great Wall and make it its own thing. That was my fantasy. I didn't realize I was going to break my ankle.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, there are how many people have their name in gold on the Great Wall of China? Like 5?
Yeah, something like that. I'm the only American though.
Yeah,
Who
there's
else?
five people in the world.
I don't know, dude.
Like
I don't know who they are, but
Fucking Genghis Khan, Danny Way.
I should do a little. Yeah, that's a funny one. I should do a little research on that, but I never really.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't need these things for that.
Danny's not a big like self patter on the backer.
Yeah, Jesus, dude.
Right.
I'm just like, where's the next opportunity to jump the next thing? Which is I'm in real time right now. I've got something on my plate that's I was when we talked a couple of days ago, Stevo. I was out in El Centro looking at the border, the Trump wall.
Yeah, Danny calls me up the other day, and I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I just came back from like getting hit in the balls, like, and he's like, oh, I'm getting ready to jump over a fucking border wall. I'm like, dude, we're old, we're old and we're still doing this shit,
Dude, who would have thought? What I mean? Like when I was a kid, like the guys that were 30 skating, we were like, look at this old man trying to skate, dude. Yeah. And I'm looking at Bucky at 47 or whatever, just ripping and inventing new tricks. It's a different era, dude. It's like I never thought we would get to this point. And like I'm sure like we were living by day when we were younger. Like it wasn't like a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan. It was like a 24-hour plan.
For sure. And when we were kids, there was no such thing as like a rock star over 30 or an athlete over 30, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the fucking Rolling Stones like were 40. I don't know, but that was fucked up.
I mean, it definitely, things have evolved in this era, like you can, it's pretty cool that we're able to still, you get kicked in the balls and me go, try and make these wall jumps happen.
I mean, since you brought it up, like what's the story with the Trump border wall? Like what's the...
I mean, I'm not like a politic guy, so I hope people don't, I'm actually neutral on politics. It's shock value. It's like, okay, there's controversy over the wall. There's controversy over all the elections right now. And you would probably understand this more than anyone from a media standpoint. There's other things that, that would be nice to shine light on. Like, the border, politics separate people. The border separates people based on politics, but the people are, my friend that races trophy trucks, who's Mexican, is the one that got us the permission on the Mexico side. So we were both going to jump it. He's going to jump it in his trophy truck. I'm going to jump it on my skateboard. But the idea is like, it's a Mexican and an American jumping it. It's like, we're all good, dude. The politics separate us, not people to people. We love each other. It's just no separation.
I like that.
So what, you're going to do the same thing like you did in the Great Wall of China? Yeah,
this is a little different. It's a little different style because of what the wall is. It's just a different type of wall. It's like 40 feet tall.
To me, it would be funnier if like there wasn't a wall, because isn't there like not a wall? Or
is there a wall, or do they build a wall, or
what's like a barricade on the ground?
Dude, this wall's like 40 feet tall with like barbed wire. Like, dude, it's a gnarly.
Is it new?
It's a gnarly stunt.
I feel like that gives more credit than is deserved, though, because I don't think Trump's built shit. Right? That's something that's just always been there, huh?
He's built some stuff, and they started building it in like San Ysidro, right? But the border between Imperial Beach and San Diego. But we went out east a little bit because we know people that own private property out there. I'm working with like the head of the Border Patrol, and I've been working with the mayor of Imperial Beach, and like we've been trying to hone our team to get this done. But it's going to be a lot easier to do on private property than federal property. So I found these locations that we know people that own these properties, but they're east a little bit. But the wall there is pre-existing, although it's still 35 feet tall and 5 feet of barbed wire on the top of it. I don't know where the fuck Trump thinks he needs to build a different wall. This wall's serious, dude. Like, it's no joke. I'm like looking at this thing like, what? Why would you need to replace this wall?
So funny.
If anything, get rid of it altogether. But
when's the last time you had a surgery?
It's been a little bit.
When we were there,
like probably 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, was that the last anesthesia challenge?
Yeah. That was my last. How long?
So what was that?
Years,
Can we explain that for people? You guys each got anesthesia and tried to see who could last longer or something?
Correct. Yeah, it's the anesthesia challenge is when they put you under, you fight it, and so you see who can fight it for the longest and stay awake. And it seems that I'm more of a drug addict in my history because I have like a little built-in tolerance, maybe more, because I lasted marginally longer.
Yeah, because we've done it a couple times, we've done it twice, but the second time we were gonna do it, we brought down a bunch of dildos and we brought down like tattoo guns, and like we all went into the surgery room, and then once we pulled out the dildos, they were like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Well, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna intubate him with a dildo."
Where did you do this one at?
It was when I went to get the surgery, or sorry, when I went to get the hardware out of my ankle.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so we were gonna
I wish I would have known. We could have had a rematch.
Yeah.
Fantasy Challenge is a pretty awesome event, dude.
I know,
that's a
dude.
pretty good.
We got to get you guys side by side, dude.
That was where I came up with the idea to get anesthesia while I was riding a bicycle, and we fucking went down the rabbit hole on that whole idea.
Dude, if you could put like a little sensor in the pillow, so when your head taps, it like sends up an alarm and lights. Like, ding! All right, he's done.
He's out.
Like,
Just hold your head up.
Set it up right. Two people laying next to each other, like holding their head up, like I got this.
I love how that's probably the only thing you could beat Danny Way at, Steve. Something drug related.
Right. Yeah.
Stunt game is ridiculous. So that's, I mean, I've always, when I first seen this guy, I was like, this guy's going to be a world-class stuntman. Like, and I saw the, my own little vision in my mind was like, this guy's going to bring rock stars into stuntman, to the stunt thing, like there isn't really like, other than Evel Knievel, which, he's obviously known for what he did, motorcycles and, whatever, his rocket jump over the
Yeah, stuntmen were anonymous.
Stuntmen have always been anonymous. So I saw like Stevo was like, whoa, this guy's going to be like the first like mainstream celebrity stuntman.
Were you at the trade show when Tommy met Steve?
Nah, that was just Tommy. That one was in Orlando.
Was the Sexpo in Orlando?
Yeah, Surf Expo, yep.
And then did Tommy come back and show you this guy's video? I'm like, dude, we just picked this guy up.
Immediately, dude. He's like, and Tommy's got a gift for like, finding things that are like special, like talent, or just, he's got a knack for like, finding.
If Tommy makes an intro, the guy's special, that's.
Dude, when Tommy says like, dude, this guy's, like I understand Tommy's mentality so well that like when I saw the light in his eyes, like, dude, I met this guy and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table and he's all going to let's fly him out here. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's get him out here.
And how long before Jackass is this? This is like.
That was, it was January 97. And I went to clown college in the summer of 97. So yeah, like would have been like May. Do you remember when it was that you did that jump out of the helicopter 16-foot air thing?
September 1997.
Oh, okay. Well, shit. Then it was more than a couple weeks after I was there.
Oh wait, it was August.
Okay. Same summer. But on the issue, the issue of Trans World Skateboarding that had Danny jumping out of the helicopter on the cover, like had an XYZ ad with me blowing a fireball in the
in New Mexico.
Yeah, that had me and Simonetti doing 50-50 fireball.
That's cool. Do you still
when you
have
were
that?
in the like white one suit?
Yeah.
Unisuit. It was insane.
The motorcycle.
You got
suit.
that article?
I'm sure.
Fuck yeah.
It's the same photo that there's all the posters of.
Okay.
So,
Danny, do you have a favorite photo out of all the years?
I don't know.
Oh, dude, they like the fucking.
There's some cool ones.
Yeah, of course there are.
I mean, dude, Danny like went. Okay, so Danny built that one. He did the 16-foot air, and what that was just a big roll in with like a humongous quarter pipe, basically. But then Danny said, "All right, now I've set the record for the highest air ever done." But what I want to do is set the record for the longest air ever done. So that he built the mega ramp as we know it now with the huge roll in and the jump
like Elliot's
kicker,
house.
like Elliot's house. And what Danny did was he didn't just set both records. He did them back to back. Right? He did the longest air ever done, like straight into the highest air ever done in one run.
Oh, shit.
And the longest air ever done, he set the record. He did a backside 360 air longer than anybody had ever done.
Was that premeditated? Or were you like, after you did that one, you're like, no, fuck, I'm going to do the next one?
No, I think I realized that at a certain point, I was like, I think I could probably break both records in one run because, by default, the quarter pipe after the jump was like, essentially like, what am I going to do to slow down without, like, it became like a realization that like I have a lot of speed and it's hard to get this kind of speed. It takes a lot of money to build roll-ins to get this speed. If I'm going to build a quarter pipe with a roll-in, it's good. So I realized I got to do something with this speed. What can I build now? And when I put the quarter pipe there, I realized like, okay, this is the kind of speed I need to break the world, you know, to do the highest air. But yeah, it was like a goal I had, was like break 2 world records in one run. It was part of the pitch I had to throw at DC to like get them to help me fund the thing, you know?
Sick.
Oh, dude. So what was that record? It was like it was a 60-foot backside 360 air landed, and then 75-foot backside 360 air into what was like a 24-foot high air.
I think it was like 23.5.
23.5.
Yeah, close enough.
That's amazing.
So the record, his own record, went from 16 feet high to 23.5 feet high, but having just done a 75-foot long.
Do you still have the record?
Yeah, I broke the high air record. I broke both of those records since, you know, the distance one is like 79 feet now, and then the high air one's 25 and a half feet now.
And you hold both of those?
Yeah.
What have you broken more, records or bones?
I guess more ligaments than bones.
Ligaments,
yeah. But I haven't, you know, I've broken some bones, but mostly torn ligaments.
Oh, okay.
Mostly, but you know, I got a few records in there in the midst of breaking some bones and tearing ligaments for sure.
Have you accomplished all your goals, or do you still have a couple that you're like just itching to do and pull the trigger on?
Oh, my brain is always trying to calculate something, and you know, part of the excitement of doing this stuff is the chase to achieve it. So it's like I always, you know, even though it might be unachievable, I'm always convinced myself it is achievable. And, you know, as long as you relentlessly put in the work to keep trying to achieve, then part of the excitement's there, even though you haven't accomplished it yet, you know? So
there was another one that was going on in Vegas with like the rooftops, one rooftop to the next. And that
one, the rooftop transfer at the Hard Rock.
Yeah. That got shut down by the Hard Rock?
The Hard Rock one fell apart because of the weight load on the the ramp I needed to build with the wind load, you know, because these are tall towers and they're going to put it on the roof of a building. They got to strap that tower down, and Vegas gets some pretty heavy winds. So basically they couldn't calculate. All they knew that the weight of the structure was already pushing the load limit. But then adding the wind, they were like, dude, we can't take a risk. So the last second, I had everything queued up to jump from building to building at Vegas, or at the Hard Rock Vegas, and they pulled the plug on me, which would have been my coolest stunt, because I was going to flat ground street ollie it, because it's like a step down. So I wasn't going to have a jump. I was just going to hit it and flat ground ollie down like 12 stories.
Fuck yeah. And I think the answer to your question, Scott, is no, Danny hasn't done everything that he wants to do. And that the qualifier for that answer is that if at any point you're not scheming to do something new, then you might as well not be alive anymore.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in nature, if you're not growing, you're dying. Right?
True.
So
you got to keep progressing, man.
Stay ripe or you'll go rotten.
Yeah, you want to stay alive, dude. You want to stay alive.
Let's go back, though, to when my initiation with meeting Stevo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, please.
I mean, dude, this one, I know it's going to be a part of the main channel video, because I saw the footage in the Pappas Brothers documentary. They actually have me doing it there. So we'll pull that footage out of there. I don't think we need to have too much overlap. But, dude, I'll tell you, the first time I ever wore the cheetah print bikini was when we went out there to hug sharks. Mm-hmm. And the idea to hug sharks was 100% Danny Ways. He got me on the phone. He said, dude, Stevo, I got an idea. It's called shark hugging. We're going to catch a blue shark, and when it's on the line, we're going to reel it up to the boat, and you jump in the water and fucking hug it while it's on the line. And in my mind, I thought, okay, like by the same principle that like a compass in geometry, you know, you can make the circle. If the length of that fishing line is only so far, then the head of that blue shark won't be able to. So if I come from behind, it's safe. But dude, that was a fucking awful idea. And blue sharks are so pissed. So we went and did it.
Blue sharks are so pissed.
They're so pissed. They're the fucking angriest shark, dude. Like blues and bulls have like more testosterone than elephants, I think. And so we went and did it with nurse sharks, and that was where my first time swimming with a shark, and I managed to get bitten. By a nurse shark, which like you have to be an extraordinary imbecile to get bitten by a nurse shark.
Yeah.
So, but when Tommy told you about Steve, how long did it take for you to actually meet him? Like, where did you guys first meet?
It was May or June. I want to say June. Yeah, June of '97. It was when we first met.
Wasn't long after the Surf Expo. I think
Right.
Tommy was like a couple weeks or something. Like Tommy got you out. Like he was. I don't know how long
it was a few months. But as soon as I met Danny, I think that there were some other guys on the team too, like the XYZ team. Danny was on board, Tommy was on board, but the idea that this fucking asshole who sets himself on fire is on the team list, he's not even a skater, was kind of offensive to some of the other team guys. And so when they flew me out to San Diego, it was like, all right, now I'm going to meet everybody. And these guys are kind of looking at me like fucking sideways a little bit, you know? Like, oh, like, what the fuck?
They're like, so what do you do? And you're just like smashing beer bottles on your head.
Right. And everybody was hanging out fucking, in Danny's living room fucking doing bong hits. And I fucking...
It was at Sean. It was my friend's house, by the way.
Okay.
my house was a little bit more controlled environment, but that scene was like, dude, just a couch of people doing bong hits all day long. Always.
Right. Okay. But everybody's around. It was like, a bunch of guys on the team, and it was like fucking like I grabbed the bong and fucking just not knock it back. I drink all of the bong water, put it down empty, and like then everyone's like, all right, we get it. Like that kind of won. I think that won everybody over a little bit.
Dude, Stevo came in and like was like, hey, what's up, Steve, and then like, oh, can I get a bong hit? Like, oh yeah, here. And this wasn't just a normal bong hit. These guys were smoking mall hits all day with tobacco in there. So like the water was pretty, it was pretty murky with just like, nicotine. Like
I think
understood. They were using Marlboros and shit back then, dude. So like I'm sure there was a bunch of chemicals and bullshit in that water. And that bong wasn't clean, dude. It was so dirty. Steve comes in, sits down, asks for a bong hit, and we're like, sure, pack him a mall hit. Rips the thing, holds it in for a second, then chugs the fucking bong water, and then blows out the hit. And we were just like, what? Dude, no way. 'Cause he didn't claim anything. He didn't promote this. He just sat down and did it. And like, whoa, dude, who's this guy? This is crazy. And then I think it was like the next day, dude, he was doing, gainers, fireball gainers off the trussels with handcuffs on into the lagoon.
It was the handcuffed fire breathing gainer flip off the bridge was my first XYZ ad. And that's what we shot on that trip.
That's sick.
I don't know if I ever saw that one.
Handcuffed.
Yeah, handcuffed. And the cops came. So we lit the whole fire. The top of the bridge was like train tracks, and it was like all wood. And like I needed a good amount of fire to set myself on fire to do the fire breathing flip. And so the cops saw this fire on the fucking bridge, and they come down, and they're like, oh, fucking. So like the XYZ clothing receptionist, they had like this hot chick, and they took the tape and like stuffed it in her bra, and we're like, oh, we don't know, dude. What fuck? We came here to film it, and we forgot the tape. Yeah.
How many times before that have you drinking bong water at parties? Was that like a weekly thing, or is that like
it wasn't like super rare, but that was a special occasion kind of trick.
Did you know you're gonna do that before, or were you like, fuck, I gotta do something?
Yeah, I don't think I knew I was gonna do that before, but it was a big deal for me to meet Danny, dude. Like it's like Danny from like he was my childhood hero, like being the same age, and like he was a street skater. Like you cannot understate the importance of what you brought to skateboarding by having that vision to set the highest air and to push it further to do the longest and the highest. Like, and then from when you did that and set those records, then the following year, it was June of 2003 that you set those records on the first true mega. Then the next year, they brought the mega ramp to the X Games, which was in LA. And like you're on the fucking mega ramp at the Staples Center, like while I'm getting dragged out of the Staples Center by fucking security because I'm all fucking cockeyed, drunk, fucking pissing on everything.
We were on a good one.
Were you
Yeah.
invited there, or like why were you there?
I can't remember. I think I was invited. I feel like maybe I was going to present something or other, but I was just such a fucking drunken pile of shit that they dragged me out.
What year was that? 2000?
I think it was 2004.
Okay.
So you were already famous.
And maybe it was 2005. I don't know. But like pretty quick that they got the mega ramp into the X Games, like after you built the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I pitched, you know, that was 2 point. I mean, there was a bigger picture vision along the whole way. Like, I'm personally not like could really give a fuck about world records, you know, like it's cool to know you built something and you went, you know, you pushed the limits of possibility and all that. That's like what intrigues me the most. But to sell these things, to get the money and to like get people to, I have to like throw those little pieces in there.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's marketable and that's something, you know, it tells a story. So that being said, you know, I had to kind of package it that way. But the bigger goal was like, yeah, I have something here I know that can be potentially a competitive event platform. And if I can just prove all this, which was the DC video, then I could go to ESPN and go, proof of concept is here. Look at the response, you know?
Dude,
which
fucking epic.
Worked out great, you know? And that's essentially how Big Air started at X Games.
Right. And now there's a whole new generation of mega ramp skaters who have come up. Like, how many guys... Obviously, Elliott Sloan is at the top of the heap, but like, how many guys would you say are like really on top of the mega ramp right now?
I mean, it's like, because there's not really any permanent. I mean, Bob's got one. Elliott's got the mini mega, which is about like half the size, you know, like, which is great for practice and training. But like, they're not that accessible. So it's kind of an elite group of guys that have to have like, you got to be homies with Bob. You got to be homies with Elliott. It's not like anyone could get in this group. So it's like, you know, it's a little, it's a little bit exclusive on that level. But you know, the guys do penetrate the bubble and get in there and get in with Bob and get in with Elliott. And once that happens, you're home free. But getting to that point, so you know, I don't know what it takes because I haven't been at that level why this is all unfolding. I was able to get in ahead of it and start the thing and not have to worry about that part of it. But there is a solid group of guys that are doing it. You know what I mean? If you look at like Clay Kreiner, he's fucking nuts. You know, look at what Mitchie's doing, like did the 1260 or whatever. And, you know, Trey Wood, like there's a bunch of young guys that are ripping. Obviously Tom Shark can skate that thing pretty good.
Yeah.
But anyways, there is a new generation of guys that are ripping it, you know, but it's a small group.
I mean, how many dudes in the world do the mega? Like, could you say it's under 50?
I mean, maybe close to that all inclusive, but there's like probably 10 guys that can, you know, really like move the needle for it, you know, like that are in the like, that can compete for, you know, winning an event.
You guys all part of a Facebook group that you guys chat on? Or?
Yeah, we all have like little, you know, we have like little pins we all wear when we're skating.
Little mega ramp
matching tattoos.
So you told me the other day that you were that you got a new video part that you're putting out. Like
yeah.
How long have you been working on that?
I mean, like a few years. I just been lightly chipping away at it, just because I have this ramp in Hawaii. It's a mega ramp, but it's not like one. It's not like a jump. It's not the typical version. It's a new version I built to be able to allow more like technical vert skating possibilities, like more street-minded stuff, street skating influence stuff. So it's been so hard to document skateboarding over there because of just the weather, and then just getting people out there and the time it takes. And you know, I just don't have somebody on deck to basically go, let's go film right now. When I'm out there, it's so hard to get a production going there. So every trick that I film there, it has been so involved to like fly somebody out for 5 days before they want to go back home. Just people in the, like, it's so like in the wild there that there's just like mosquitoes and just, you know, if you're hanging out filming, dude, you got to like be laced up with so much sunscreen and mosquito spray. And it's just not a pleasant, it's a gnarly environment to film skateboarding.
Yeah.
So with that being said, over the few years, I've chipped away at enough footage, I think, now to put out a video part. If I had this ramp around the corner, it would be a lot more lucrative as far as content goes. But just the way it is like, I didn't realize it when I built it that it was going to be like this, but it is. So anyways, the culmination is I finally have a video part. I collabed with Metallica
Nice.
for it.
Jesus, dude.
So I got a Metallica video or song, and it's, Metallica. I dealt directly with, Metallica myself to get the permission. And
Rad.
so I'm pretty hyped on that because I pirated their stuff when I was younger.
Sure, the Plan B Revolution video. With the
Yeah, we
fucking
just
mullet.
ripped off their songs. We're fans. Like, we're like, they can't hate on this. Funny though, because Colin McKay ends up becoming managed by Mark Ryder, is our Metallica's manager. Colin ends up getting managed by Mark, back, maybe at, I don't know, in the mid 2000s or something. And so they start, having the conversation, and Colin's like, hey, check this out. He shows them Revolution. And they're like, dude, we love this shit.
Yeah, that was
we didn't
the
have
Four
the rights.
Horsemen.
But there was no YouTube back then. You didn't need to get the clearance and stuff, you know?
Right.
So they were all about it. So they know that Colin and I've used Metallica in the DC video. I used Orion, but I did license that correctly.
Right.
But they respect that I've got a little bit of a theme going with the video parts. So Colin has a little section in this Hawaii video too. So it's kind of, it's like a 2.0 Revolution.
Nice, dude. Oh, did you put on the Hesher fucking mullet wigs?
We didn't do the wigs, dude. We didn't go that far, but there's a little section where Colin's like, you'll see. It's got a little
boombox.
Yeah,
that shit was classic.
Head bob
man.
guitar, playing air guitar on the skateboard in the middle of on the ramp in Hawaii. But
dude, I love it, man. We've been trying to come up with a plan for a Hawaii trip for some time now, man. And the idea was like, let's go to Kauai to Danny's compound. Let's swim with sharks with Ocean Ramsey.
You got the hookup with helicopters in Hawaii?
I got hookups for pretty much everything in Kauai. Yeah,
Hell
it's a good community. There's a lot of people that have good resources, and everyone's pretty helpful. So it's easy to get things going. So if you guys did want to make that happen, of course, I'm about ready to I'm in the process of selling my home right now to be able to move over there to really hone because the ramp over there gets so overgrown, and it's just like I'll disappear for a few months and show up, and I can barely even see the ramp, and it takes me 2 weeks to dig it out of all of the foliage that grows over it, and getting it all skatable again. So I'm just ready just to be there and to manage it day to day and start building some new stuff. But only way I'm going to do it is if I'm over there. So anyways, I'm ready to make a leap over there for good, permanently.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'll be in California a bit, but I'm just saying soon I'll be there full time, enough where you guys should come over and I'll have things dial in. So,
yeah, fuck nice. Yeah, dude.
Cool,
I'm down.
Man.
I'd love to.
I wanted to it occurs to me that the Plan B is just so big now. You got Sheckler, you got Tori Pudwill, PJ Ladd.
No, Tori left.
Oh, Tori left.
He's not in no different than P-Rod. We're all friends, dude. I'm proud of these guys for taking and doing exactly what I did. I started my own company that Tori started Thank You with Day One.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and P-Rod started Primitive. So all I do is pat these guys on the back and say, rad, dude, I'm glad you guys are maturing and doing this stuff.
Hell yeah.
Is there a more dominating street skating part than Tori Pudwill's part at the end of the True video?
Dude, Tori's one of the most badass street skaters of all time. He's one of my favorites for sure.
Is anything ever going to touch that?
I don't, opinion. Everyone's got their opinion on everything. I'm with you. I'm a huge fan of Tori's work, and especially that. It's
a different style. I mean, I'll give it to Nija. His Till Death part is gnarlier. It's the gnarliest. But as far as just technical fucking, Tori. Freaky
tricks, man.
I wonder
super creative.
I wonder if that part's going to haunt Tori forever, because it's fuck, how am I going to follow that up?
I mean, I see him dropping clips in recent time, and I'm like, wow, dude, this guy's still got it so well.
Good, which is good because he had a back injury that was concerning.
Yeah.
But in
he's
any
an
case,
anomaly talent.
Right. I think we've digressed at that point, and fuck it, dude. I would love to go to Hawaii and fuck around there. And dude, as always, man, I've always said it, dude. I know it sounds kooky, but you've always been a hero to me, dude, and that just remains the case, dude. So thank you for doing this with us.
I love you to death, Steven. To be honest, I'm a fan of you, and I'm very proud of you, dude. To see the evolution of what you've done with your career and what you've done with yourself, and you've experienced everything to the fullest. You've had a stunt you've had to be the stunt dummy for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But to be able to rebound from that and to be like, check this out. This is, if you're going to do it, don't even, you can never compete with this. So why even try? It's been done.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I'm very proud of you, dude, to see how well you've done with your life, dude, and the opportunities that you were given. And that's all, you know, when I first met you, that's like, I saw the passion in you. I saw the dream. I saw it all. Like I knew you had the wiring to do this, you know? So it's pretty rad when you see your friends accomplish what they were cut out, you know, what they were made to do, what their purpose is, you know, on this planet is for. And I think you have done a good job of entertaining people, pushing the needle on making, you know, what's comfortable and what's not, what's life threatening and what's not. Like you walked the edge of the cliff on all of it so fine, dude, and so hard that it's pretty rad to be your friend, dude.
Dude, that means the world to me, Danny, dude. It's been fucking rad just being bros for as long as we have, dude. I can think, there's so many things I can think of that we didn't even bring up, like, you know, just so many rad experiences, dude. And I just love you back, dude. Thank you so much, Danny.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, what can I say? Danny Way is a legend and a hero, and I'd really love it if you would shoot some positive feedback his way, man. Whether you were a fan before or not, just post away, tag him, let him know you enjoyed that. And I gotta ask you this. Are you subscribed to this podcast? I mean, it'd be a crying shame if you weren't. But yeah, dude, get subscribed, man. Buy one of these signature dicks. Yeah, it's the old dickograph. Dude, the hustle's real. I can't believe I'm doing all of this with the condition that I'm in. And, you know, it's just work, man. It's what I do. Yeah, dude. Thank you, guys.